NASCAR is not playing around with penalties this year. 50 points for this? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to the busiest day of the year, apparently. I guess the folks at NASCAR are working overtime. This morning, they announced they are countersuing 2311 Racing, Front Row, and Curtis Polk. I've got a video on that coming out later this afternoon. The Chase Briscoe JGR appeal is being heard this afternoon. We should get a result by early this evening. And now they've dropped a 50-point penalty on Austin Cindric. In the early laps of Sunday's race at Circuit of the Americas, Austin Cindric gets run off track by Ty Dillon in turn 20, gets back on the racing surface, and spins Dillon towards the outside guardrail. This week, NASCAR officials determined that Austin Cindric intentionally right rear hooked Ty Dillon out of frustration and assessed a massive penalty. 50 driver points and a $50,000 fine. It's worth noting, no owner points here, nothing for Team Penske, just 50 driver points that drop Austin Cindric from 11th to 34th in the driver standings. Hey, he's still 1 point ahead of Ty Gibbs. Shoot, I guess that's something. A huge penalty for the driver of the number 2 Ford. It could have been worse. We have seen drivers get suspended for right-rearing their competition. Bubba Wallace, 2022, Las Vegas. Chase Elliott, 2023, Charlotte. It could have been worse. Yes, 50 points is a lot, but at least there are no playoff point ramifications. Remember, this year under NASCAR's new waiver rule, if you are suspended for an on-track incident, you will forfeit any playoff points you might earn during the regular season. So yes, while the loss of 50 driver points does hurt, should Austin Cindric win a race this regular season to make the playoffs, win some stages, he'll at least get to keep those playoff points once the postseason begins. Mike Ford, NASCAR communication director, explained why NASCAR opted not to suspend Austin Cindric on this week's episode of Hauler Talk. Ford said, quote, "We take every situation, every violation as its own unique incident. Sure, we look at past instances to help educate and inform us on how we should handle each subsequent one." Referring to the Cindric incident, he says, "It is at a road course, lower speeds, tighter confines to begin with. The result didn't even draw a caution flag." Mike Ford noted the 25-point penalty Carson Hocevar received last year for right rear spinning Harrison Burton out at Nashville under caution. And Ford explains that NASCAR believes what Hocevar did last year or what Cindric did this past weekend is different than right-rearing someone at 180 miles per hour at an intermediate track. So, okay, my reaction to this, I'm glad they didn't suspend him. Like I said on Monday, I do not think what Austin Cindric did should rise to the level of a suspension. I know Mike Ford says that NASCAR looks at every incident on its own, but you do have to examine past precedent, recent examples. And when we consider recent examples, I think what Austin Cindric did is more equivalent to what Carson Hocevar did at Nashville last year, which again was not a suspension, or what Noah Gragson did in the Xfinity Series 3 years ago when he intentionally spun Sage Karam. Now that incident I would argue might have been worse because 10 cars piled in, but Gragson wasn't suspended for that. He got a 35-point penalty. So that's my only criticism here. I'm glad they didn't suspend Austin Cindric. I do think that would have been too far, but 50 points? When Noah Gragson got 35 3 years ago, 50 seems steep. What I said Monday was 25 points, $50,000 fine. That's what I said on Monday, and that's still what I believe the penalty should have been. 50 points is steep. Again, this knocks Cindric to 34th in the driver standings. If they'd hit him with a 25-point penalty, I believe he would be 22nd or 23rd. Still a 12-position drop in the standings, but not quite as harsh as the 50-point penalty turns out to be. 25 points for Carson Hocevar last year, and what he did was under caution, which, I mean, you could argue is even worse. Drivers aren't expecting contact. There could theoretically be safety crews coming onto the track. I'd argue what Hocevar did at Nashville was as bad or worse than what Austin Cindric just did, yet he got half the penalty. That doesn't really line up. Again, Ford says NASCAR tries to look at every incident on its own, but precedent matters. 50 points seems steep to me. I know there are going to be some people who say, hey, a right rear hook is a right rear hook. Doesn't matter the track, doesn't matter the speeds, doesn't matter the circumstances, should be a suspension across the board. I understand that some people are very consistent on that, and I respect the consistency, but I don't agree that what Austin Cindric did should have warranted a suspension. Points penalty and a fine was fair. I argue NASCAR went even a little too steep with the points penalty. That's just my take. Something around 25 points would have been fairer in my opinion. I get why Austin Cindric was frustrated. I mean, think about it. Dude was leading on the last lap at Daytona when he gets crashed. He was contending for the lead at Atlanta when he gets crashed. Then Penske blows qualifying at COTA. Cindric's racing for 31st place and gets run off track by Ty Dillon. I get the frustration. I guess going forward, I hope that Austin Cindric is able to get his emotions under control because this is a big year. Big picture, this is a big year for Austin Cindric. His teammates have won championships the last 3 years. Cindric is no longer a wide-eyed, overwhelmed rookie. No, he's 26 years old. This is year 4. He's an Xfinity Series champion. More than 100 races under his belt. Now is the time to take a big step forward. No one expects you to beat 3-time champion Joey Logano or recent champion Ryan Blaney on a regular basis, but you gotta close the gap at places that aren't super speedways. Cindric is a great super speedway racer. Doesn't get the finishes, but he leads a hell of a lot of laps. Gotta start closing the gaps at those other tracks. So I understand there's pressure on Austin Cindric. I understand the frustration with how the first couple weeks went. There was the news right before the season started that his father, Tim Cindric, is stepping down to a slightly less involved role at Team Penske. There are questions. There are absolutely fair questions surrounding Austin Cindric this year. The pressure is on him to take a big step forward. I get the frustration, but I do hope that Austin Cindric is able to quickly compose himself, put together some good runs here. You're going to Phoenix, which is a great Penske track. Las Vegas, been pretty nice to Penske in recent years. You go into some good tracks, get off to a strong start at the traditional ovals here the next few weeks, build some positive momentum, build some confidence as we head into those important summer months. 50-point driver penalty for Austin Cindric is going to be difficult to overcome without a win. But hey, my preseason goal, expectation for Cindric was to win a race, specifically a non-super speedway race. Lead more laps, run up front, the results will follow. The goal for Austin Cindric does not change in my opinion. He's got to win to qualify for the driver playoffs at least. Nothing has changed as a result of this penalty, but it is demoralizing. Let me know down in the comments below if you think NASCAR got this call right. Do you think the penalty was too steep? Not steep enough? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section below. Leave a like on this video, subscribe for more. Like I said, lots of videos coming your way over the next 24 hours or so. We're also streaming live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so plenty of opportunities to cover all the latest NASCAR news. Thanks to my Patreon supporters as well. I will see you again very soon. Keep an eye on your subscription feeds. That's all I've got. See y'all.